You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your Security Plus certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. The incident response lifecycle is not a collection of isolated steps, but a carefully sequenced process with critical handoffs between phases. Detection triggers the recognition that something unusual or malicious may be happening, which flows into triage, where analysts confirm severity and scope. From triage, containment strategies are applied to limit damage, followed by eradication activities to remove the root cause of the intrusion. Recovery then restores services safely and confidently back into production. Each of these stages must hand off cleanly to the next, or gaps will appear. For instance, poor triage can result in incomplete containment, allowing adversaries to persist. Similarly, eradication performed without evidence preservation can harm later forensic investigations. The lifecycle must be seen as interconnected, with communication and documentation ensuring continuity across handoffs. For learners, imagine a relay race. Each runner's success depends on smooth baton exchanges. In incident response, the baton is information, and every phase depends on the clarity and completeness of the previous stage's handoff. Containment strategies are the defensive maneuvers used to stop an attack from spreading while giving responders time to act. Full isolation is the most aggressive approach, where affected systems are taken completely offline to prevent communication with other devices or networks. Network segmentation is a more controlled tactic, limiting affected systems to restricted zones where their activity can be monitored without spreading. Session termination can immediately stop active attacker sessions, such as dropping VPN connections or ending suspicious logins. Scoped throttling is another strategy, slowing down or limiting certain services to buy time for defenders. Each of these methods must be chosen carefully, balancing urgency with business continuity. Overly aggressive containment may cause downtime that rivals the incident's damage, while overly timid actions may allow the threat to persist. For learners, containment is like putting out small fires before they reach the whole building. Sometimes you drench a room, sometimes you isolate a corridor, depending on context. Short-term containment differs from long-term containment, and both have their place in incident response. Short-term containment is focused on immediate action, stopping the bleeding, so to speak. This might involve disabling a user account, isolating a compromised endpoint, or blocking malicious IPs at the firewall. These actions are temporary, meant to limit damage until more permanent fixes are in place. Long-term containment, on the other hand, involves sustaining stability while remediation is underway. This may include building secure staging environments, patching systems, and monitoring quarantined assets until eradication can be fully performed. Long-term containment strategies ensure the attacker cannot regain access during remediation, even if short-term fixes were circumvented. For learners, it helps to think of short-term containment as applying a tourniquet. It buys time, but is not sustainable long-term, while long-term containment is the surgery that stabilizes the patient for recovery. Both are vital, but the shift from one to the other must be deliberate and clearly managed. Eradication is where responders remove the adversary and the underlying causes of the incident from the environment. Common eradication activities include removing malware binaries, shutting down or patching vulnerable services, and revoking compromised credentials. Each activity aims not only to clean the immediate infection, but also to eliminate the attacker's pathways back into the network. For example, if compromised service accounts are not revoked, attackers may return even after malware is wiped. Eradication must also consider persistence mechanisms such as scheduled tasks, registry keys, or cloud backdoors that attackers often leave behind. Effective eradication is thorough, disciplined, and systematic, leaving no hidden footholds. For learners, eradication is like removing weeds from a garden. Cutting the visible leaves does nothing if the roots remain intact. To prevent regrowth, responders must dig deep enough to eliminate the attacker's presence completely, ensuring they cannot easily return once systems are restored. Evidence preservation during eradication is critical to avoid destroying forensic artifacts. Investigators may later need to analyze malware samples, logs, or compromised accounts to determine how the attack unfolded, whether data was exfiltrated, and what vulnerabilities were exploited. If responders immediately wipe or re-image systems without preserving evidence, valuable insights are lost and legal investigations may be compromised. Best practice involves creating disk images, capturing volatile memory, and storing relevant logs before eradication actions are performed. This dual-track approach preserves evidence, then eradicate ensures that defenders can both recover operations and learn from the attack. For learners, this is like crime scene management. Police do not immediately clean up a scene, they first collect fingerprints, photographs, and samples. Similarly, incident responders must balance urgency with diligence, preserving artifacts that may hold the keys to understanding the attack and improving defenses in the future. Coordination with change control is another key consideration when applying fixes that may affect availability. Eradication often requires actions like patching critical systems, disabling services, or updating configurations. While urgent, these changes can also disrupt normal operations if not managed carefully. By aligning with established change control processes, even in a streamlined form during crises, teams ensure that risk is understood, approvals are documented, and potential impacts are communicated. This prevents remediation from creating accidental outages worse than the original incident. For learners, think of this as emergency road repairs. Fixing a dangerous sinkhole is urgent, but you still need traffic controls and detours to prevent accidents while the fix is applied. Change control in security incidents functions the same way, ensuring urgent fixes are balanced with operational awareness and safety. Recovery is the stage where systems and services are carefully reintroduced after eradication. This process involves validating clean images of systems, restoring from trusted backups, and gradually returning services to production. The emphasis here is on trust. Organizations must be confident that recovered systems are free of compromise before allowing them back into the environment. Recovery is not a single flip of a switch. It is gradual and staged, often starting with lower priority systems and building toward mission-critical services. This ensures that if issues reappear, they can be contained before spreading. For learners, recovery can be compared to returning a hospital ward after decontamination. You do not reopen every room at once. You reopen progressively, confirming safety at each stage. The careful pacing of recovery ensures stability and trust in the environment before declaring the incident closed. Validation checks are essential after recovery to confirm that restored systems are both functional and uncompromised. Integrity checks verify that system files match known good baselines and that no malware persists. End-to-end functionality tests ensure that services perform as expected, not just at a technical level but from the perspective of real users. User verification is often included, gathering feedback that systems are usable and stable after recovery. Without these checks, organizations risk reopening services prematurely, only to find that hidden compromises or incomplete remediation cause further incidents. For learners, this is like test driving a repaired car. A mechanic may certify it's fixed, but the true test comes when the driver takes it back on the road. Validation checks ensure the systems are not just online, but truly ready for safe, reliable operation. Communications during recovery must be managed with as much care as the technical steps. Stakeholders, executives, employees, customers, regulators need timely updates about progress, timelines, and expected impacts. Cadence matters. Too few updates create confusion and rumors, while too many may overwhelm or cause panic. Transparency is equally important. While organizations may not reveal every technical detail, they should provide honest, consistent messaging about recovery progress and timelines. Clear communication helps maintain trust and manage expectations, especially if services are disrupted during recovery. For learners, think of this like a power company restoring electricity after a storm. Customers don't need engineering details, but they do want honest updates about when power will return and what's being done. Recovery communications provide that same reassurance, balancing transparency with professionalism. Documentation discipline is critical throughout recovery. Every action taken, every timeline, and every decision rationale should be captured for later review. This provides a factual record that supports compliance, informs after-action reviews, and strengthens organizational learning. Documentation also protects teams by proving that decisions were based on evidence and policy rather than ad hoc choices. For example, if regulators later ask why certain systems were restored before others, documented reasoning can demonstrate alignment with policy and business priorities. For learners, this is like keeping detailed notes during medical treatment. If questions arise later, the notes provide clarity about why choices were made. Incident response documentation ensures accountability, transparency, and valuable lessons for future preparedness. Regulatory notification triggers often align with containment or recovery decisions. For example, many data protection laws require notification of regulators or customers once data compromise is confirmed. Recovery steps, such as validating backups or confirming eradication, may trigger the determination that sensitive data was exposed. Organizations must know these thresholds in advance and rehearse notification processes during exercises. Waiting too long risks fines and reputational damage, while premature notification may create unnecessary panic. For learners, this can be compared to public health reporting. Certain test results automatically trigger reporting obligations to authorities. In security, containment or recovery milestones may serve the same role, requiring clear, timely action to meet legal obligations. A concrete way to apply these principles is to create a recovery checklist for one critical service. This checklist should identify the backup point to restore from, integrity checks to run post-restoration, and a step-by-step cutover plan to reintroduce the service into production. For example, the checklist may specify restoring from a backup taken 24 hours before compromise, running hash checks on system files, and testing application functionality with a pilot user group before opening to all users. By defining these steps in advance, recovery becomes structured, repeatable, and less prone to error during high-pressure situations. For learners, this is like a surgical checklist. Surgeons know each step to perform, reducing mistakes and ensuring consistency. A recovery checklist brings the same discipline to incident response, turning chaotic recovery into structured, controlled action. Post-incident verification is a critical step that ensures recovery efforts were successful and that adversaries have not maintained persistence. This phase includes monitoring systems for recurrence, validating that compensating controls are working, and extending observation windows to detect subtle anomalies. For example, after restoring a compromised web server, teams should monitor for unexpected logins, anomalous network connections, or attempts to exploit the same vulnerability. Compensating controls, such as temporary firewall rules or heightened logging, must also be checked to confirm they are protecting the environment as expected. Extending observation beyond the immediate recovery window allows responders to catch delayed attacker activity that might resurface days or weeks later. For learners, think of this like post-surgery care in medicine. The patient may leave the operating room, but continuous observation ensures complications don't arise later. Verification provides the assurance that recovery wasn't just cosmetic, but truly eliminated the threat. Rollback planning is another essential consideration. Even after recovery, instability or incomplete eradication may surface, forcing teams to reverse changes quickly. Rollback plans define how to restore systems to a previously known good state if recovery introduces unexpected problems. This might mean reverting to an earlier backup, redeploying previous configurations, or even re-isolating services until issues are resolved. Without rollback planning, teams may scramble in the middle of a new crisis, wasting valuable time. Rollback readiness provides confidence that even if recovery introduces new challenges, there is a safe way back. For learners, imagine testing a new parachute design. You wouldn't jump without a backup chute. In incident response, rollback serves as that backup parachute, ensuring recovery efforts can be reversed safely if they destabilize systems or reveal hidden remnants of the compromise. Parallel environments such as staging and canary deployments are powerful tools for validating recovery before full cutover. Instead of restoring services directly into production, recovered workloads can first be deployed in a staging environment or released to a subset of users in a canary deployment. These controlled rollouts allow validation of stability, security, and functionality under limited conditions. If problems occur, they are contained within the smaller environment, preventing widespread disruption. For example, after patching a database cluster, organizations may bring one node back online in staging, validate its integrity, and then gradually roll out the fix to production. For learners, this is like testing a repaired bridge with a single vehicle before reopening it to the public. Staging and canary environments provide critical reassurance that recovery efforts are safe before exposing the full organization to their outcomes. Capturing lessons learned during containment and recovery is as important as fixing the incident itself. Each decision, whether to isolate systems, revoke credentials, or restore from backup, reveals strengths and weaknesses in processes and playbooks. Documenting these decision points ensures that future responses are faster and more informed. For example, if containment was delayed because of unclear ownership of firewall rules, that becomes an action item for process improvement. These lessons are best captured in structured reviews immediately after incidents, while details remain fresh. For learners, think of this like reviewing a game tape after a sports match. Every decision is scrutinized, not to assign blame, but to identify what worked and what didn't. Lessons learned capture ensures each incident leaves the organization more resilient than before. Evidence retention policies come into play once eradication and recovery are complete. Even after systems are restored, forensic artifacts, such as disk images, logs, or compromised credentials, must often be retained for legal, regulatory, or insurance purposes. Retention periods vary depending on industry requirements, but policies must balance compliance needs with privacy and storage costs. Secure storage ensures evidence remains tamper-proof and accessible for investigations, lawsuits, or audits. Without clear retention policies, organizations may either discard valuable artifacts prematurely or store sensitive data indefinitely, creating risk. For learners, think of this like keeping medical records after a procedure. Records must be preserved for accountability and legal protection but managed carefully to avoid misuse. Evidence retention ensures organizations remain compliant and prepared for scrutiny long after the technical recovery is complete. Handback to operations marks the transition from incident response mode back to normal business operations. Before this handoff occurs, certain criteria must be met. Systems must be validated as secure, documentation of remediation must be complete, and monitoring must be in place. Operations teams must receive full reports of actions taken, outstanding risks, and any temporary controls still in effect. Without this, operations may inherit unstable or poorly understood environments. For learners, imagine firefighters extinguishing a blaze. They don't just leave. They brief building managers about structural damage, residual smoke risks, and ongoing safety precautions. The same applies here. Incident responders must ensure a structured, transparent handback to operations, preserving accountability and setting the stage for stable, ongoing management. Defining closure criteria for incidents prevents premature declarations of success. Incidents should only be considered closed once remediation is validated, a monitoring window has passed without recurrence, and stakeholders have signed off. Closure requires consensus. Technical teams must confirm systems are stable, leadership must approve the outcome, and compliance teams must validate reporting obligations have been met. Without formal closure, lingering issues may remain unresolved, undermining confidence. Closure is not merely administrative, It is a signal to the entire organization that recovery is complete, and focus can shift to prevention and improvement. For learners, this is like discharging a patient from the hospital. Doctors confirm stability, families are briefed, and instructions for aftercare are given. Closure criteria in security response provide the same structured reassurance. Automation can support recovery, but must be bounded by safeguards. Automated playbooks or scripts can accelerate restoration of backups, re-imaging of machines, or reconfiguration of systems. However, automation must include guardrails to prevent runaway actions. For example, an automated restore workflow might reintroduce a service only if integrity checks pass, and pause if anomalies are detected. Automation should also log every action for auditability. When used responsibly, automation makes recovery faster and more consistent. For learners, imagine robotic surgical tools. They perform precise, repeatable actions, but only under strict oversight and with human control available. Automation in recovery is no different. Powerful and efficient, but only safe when designed with transparency, safeguards, and human oversight. Continuous improvement is one of the most important outcomes of recovery. Every incident highlights weaknesses, patching cycles that are too slow, monitoring gaps, or architectural flaws. These lessons should translate into improvements such as tighter patch cadences, new detection rules, or long-term architectural redesigns. Without this feedback loop, organizations risk repeating the same failures. Improvement must be deliberate and tracked, with action items assigned and progress monitored. For learners, think of this like strengthening a building after an earthquake. Repairs alone restore function, but reinforcements ensure resilience against future shocks. Continuous improvement transforms recovery from a reactive task into a proactive opportunity to strengthen defenses and processes across the enterprise. Rehearsing recovery steps in advance reduces errors during live incidents. Just as responders practice fire drills, security teams should practice recovery drills. These rehearsals validate that backups restore properly, that playbooks are clear, and that operators can execute steps under time pressure. Rehearsals also uncover hidden dependencies, such as undocumented services or outdated backup processes, before they cause real harm. Practicing recovery is not wasted effort. It is insurance against chaos when real incidents occur. For learners, think of this like lifeboat drills on a ship. They may seem routine, but in emergencies, they save lives by ensuring everyone knows their role. Recovery rehearsals build the same muscle memory, ensuring that when the pressure is real, execution is smooth and reliable. Measuring recovery effectiveness provides data to guide future improvements. Common metrics include recovery time objectives, RTOs, achieved, the number of failed restores during the incident, and whether post-recovery incidents occur due to incomplete fixes. These metrics provide evidence of whether recovery processes are meeting organizational goals. For example, if RTOs are consistently missed, playbooks or resources must be improved. If failed restores are frequent, backup validation processes need attention. Metrics transform recovery from subjective impressions into measurable performance, ensuring continuous accountability. For learners, think of this like timing rescue drills. Numbers show whether the team is truly improving or just repeating the same motions. Measured recovery ensures the organization learns and evolves. Ultimately, robust recovery is structured, tested, and governed. It cannot be improvised in the heat of the moment. Organizations must practice their checklists, automate safe steps where possible, and update playbooks after every event. Governance ensures recovery is not rushed, but deliberate, validated, and transparent. Practice ensures teams can execute without hesitation. Updates ensure the process evolves with new threats and environments. For learners, the lesson is simple. Recovery is not the end of incident response, but the bridge to resilience. Done well, it not only restores services but strengthens the organization for the future. Done poorly, it leaves cracks that attackers can exploit again. Structured, practiced, and governed recovery is the cornerstone of enduring security resilience. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.